Well, hello everyone. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. I probably seem a bit too smiley considering the subject matter we're talking about today, but I really just wanted to get it over with. But I see Hector Roos is in chat, and Hector, flex it or die, baby. Flex it or die. I always like showing off my t-shirts. That was the t-shirt I bought from the Libertarian Party of Polk County, Florida. That was their slogan for their convention, and Flex It is kind of like Texit or Brexit. It's basically a Florida secession movement, since Florida seems to be the safe harbor right now. And I want to tell you before we get into the LNC thing, I want to tell you good news, like about the Florida convention. Might as well start out with some happy stuff. And no pun intended. I love that name. Yes, I will be in Pennsylvania this weekend. So the Florida convention this week, and I'm even going to do this before my grifting, was absolutely fantastic. Most people know, but maybe some don't, that I'm originally from Florida. So I was back in my element, or as my sister said, people who aren't from Florida, they're like freak out at the humidity, It's so dry in Colorado. Me coming back to Florida, as my sister would say, it's like fish sliding back into water. Got all re-moisturized, but the convention went really well. The vice chair did a great job at chairing because Mr. Nikela has a happy addition to his family. I'm very grateful that I do believe that I was able to help Florida in a very critical way. There was some situations that came up that really only a parliamentarian would notice. And in years with where you're not worried about people who are just trying to screw over other states like our national chair, you wouldn't worry about an irregularity here or there because you'd think you're dealing with people of good faith. We're not dealing with people of good faith this year. So I'm glad I was able to help make the Florida convention, in my opinion, bulletproof. And it's stupid that we have to even think like that. So it's always a good idea, lesson learned. Oh, I don't have my anarchy thing out. If I'm going to wear Flex It, I got to have my little anarchy thing out. It's always a good idea to have a parliamentarian at your convention. There were two parliamentarians at Florida. There's a parliamentarian, Mr. Sellers, who's part of a membership of the Libertarian Party of Florida. So we were co-parliamentarians. So it was a great time. And the Flex It debate was awesome. Like, I've never seen, and maybe Hector Roos could let me know, like when the debate first started, I'm like, oh damn, this thing's gonna go down in flames. And then about midway through the debate, I go, oh, it's gonna be close. And at the end, it passed overwhelmingly. There were several really good speakers who made some really good points that even convicted me. Like, I'm hardcore. But even some of the things those people said were like, whoa, it gave me courage. And I don't normally, lack in being like courageous and saying libertarian positions. But the people that even spoke, particularly, I like the lady who got up and said, you're either gonna F around and find out or F around and F around and find out, which I was like, that was classic. And then there was also a gentleman who was like, timing? We're arguing that this isn't good timing? What, are we waiting for the government to screw us over some more? He said it more artfully than I did. And someone else with very moving testimony is like, I'm a refugee from New Jersey because I can't even work there. I came here for freedom. And Florida is leading the way in freedom. So, good to you, Florida. You kicked ass. So I'm very proud to say that I lived in Florida for most of my life. Palm Beach County, baby. All right, so now let's do the grifting. And of course, my husband does. He knows I'm recording, and he always decides this is the perfect time to wash dishes. If it sounds like I've got like the Mississippi River flowing above me, that's why. We need to soundproof the roof of the studio. We've done a little bit of it. So for the grifting, boy, a lot has changed over the past couple of days. And yeah, so Monday, there was a very amicable parting of ways from my employer. It just wasn't working out. Let's just put it that way. They were great about it. I was great about it. They agreed to pay for my health insurance for another month. Like, it was personal injury law. I never did personal injury law before. I was very skeptical as to whether I would like it. And now I've proven to myself that I don't. And it's obvious when you don't like the work you do. And it's not fair to them. They deserve to have somebody who likes the work that they do. And it's not fair to me. I deserve to like or at least tolerate the work that I do. So unfortunately, not at a good time, I find myself unemployed again. But I'm looking. I started putting out applications again today. But this leads to the grifting. If you were thinking of becoming a patron, there is not a better time right now because, again, temporarily, this is my job, which means you'll be seeing a lot of content, so that's good for you guys if you like my content. If you don't like my content, I guess that's very bad news for you guys. But that still has nothing to do with the fact that all super chats go to my campaign. My campaign funds are totally separate from my personal life funds. Anything donated to my campaign goes to my campaign. So just, and any of my donors can see receipts and things of the like to prove that. So Fidalgo says, become a realtor. My husband's a realtor. It is not the boon you think it is. It isn't. I have been the consistent breadwinner in my family because I get a regular paycheck. With a realtor, you could not make anything in 9 months, and we cannot live like that. We just can't. So that's off the table. Plus, to be honest with you, I have to tell you as a woman, and I know some women who are much braver, I wouldn't feel comfortable going and showing homes alone. Sometimes I don't think men understand the sense of vulnerability that women feel, which is kind of weird because men are actually statistically more likely to be the victim of a violent crime than women are. But women fear it more. And it's just biology, I think. We realize we're not as strong, and we have an innate biological fear, I think. Even though statistically speaking, like walking alone at night, a man is more likely to get assaulted than a woman. But a woman is much more fearful of it. So I wouldn't feel comfortable showing homes by myself. I'm a pacifist. I don't carry. Perhaps if I wasn't a pacifist and, I was packing heat, I probably wouldn't be quite so timid when it comes to things like that. But I truly appreciate all help. And Hector, thank you so much. Hector says he has $25 to my campaign fund. I totally appreciate it. The links are in and somebody's asking for a match. I would love that. The links are in the show notes. I am using GoFundMe right now. I know a lot of people have some philosophical objections to that, so my PayPal and Venmo is down there. If I'm ever raising money again, I'll try to find another option, but I've been doing it this whole time. It just is convenient for me, particularly for tax purposes and things like that. Well, actually, GoFundMe, those are like gifts, so it's just for accounting purposes, I guess it's the way to show my donors, because I even go into, actually, probably should talk with my accountant. I don't even know for tax purposes. I haven't even done my tax purposes this year. But I go into GoFundMe and I whatchamacallit, I log all donations that come from other sources too. So GoFundMe's a place where people could go to see my total amount raised. And even if it's from another source, though I don't put in people's names if they didn't do it through GoFundMe because I don't have their permission. It will say anonymous from Venmo or anonymous from PayPal or something like that. So please, if you can assist, I would truly, truly appreciate it. But Patreon patrons, that is my job. Super chats go to my campaign as they will. All super chats matter. Okay, enough with that. Let's talk about the more unpleasant thing that I want to talk about today. Politics sucks. Oh, Jason Brand says he'll match. Thank you so much. It will truly, truly assist in getting me the rest of the way there. Because to be honest with you, and if anyone here is from Tennessee or Seattle, I have my tickets already bought for Tennessee and Seattle, but I need lodging. So I either have to raise money for it, or if you are one of my friends in Tennessee and Seattle and you have a guest room, I'm very stingy with donor funds. I would love to stay with you if that's a possibility. Just get with me. Again, if you're one of my friends who are going to be at the Tennessee or Seattle conventions, I don't need anything fancy. You know, I'm not like that. I just want to go. I'll sleep on a couch, okay? All right. So now to the unpleasantries. Politics stinks, and we would like to think that libertarian politics are better, but they're not. And I'm going to be completely upfront with you. 90 minutes, it needs to, I would, unless you're going to convention. Fidalgo, if you're going to convention, then, we would be riding together. But anyway, we could talk about that if you in fact are going to the Washington convention. We'd like to think libertarian politics are different, but they're not. I never realized how bad they were. And I'm hoping next term they will not be that bad. And I'm going to say right up front here, and I will try to disclose it when I'm speculating. Some things I'm going to say are fact. And when I have facts, I usually have receipts. Mama has receipts. And other things are speculation. But with everything I've been through, I don't think a lot of you can blame me for some of my speculations, but I want to be completely honest that some of them are speculations. And I want to say where I understand things are a difficult situation, where I understand where there's going to be some of you who what I'm going to say today you're going to disagree with. And that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. Let me get my soda. So here's the latest brouhaha. And I've done Facebook live streams on this, but I haven't done a whole YouTube video on it, I don't think. And so I wanted to do one where I could interact with your questions, your concerns, your pushback, because I'm sure there will be some pushback. For about a year now, I've been complaining about, it's probably even longer than a year, this internal list that the LNC has where they have secret conversations. This list, this has been more than a year because it was created by Dan Fishman without any instruction from the LNC. He did it entirely on his own, and he had access, I believe, at the time that he did it, which raises a whole other issue, because if it's supposed to be for things that are supposed to be confidential, like legal issues or political strategy, the executive director needs to be invited, is not automatically invited. But then he eventually removed himself. But there's all kinds of issues with this internal list. I don't believe that, not that I think Tyler Harris would do this, because he wouldn't. Tyler Harris is awesome. He's our current executive director. But I don't believe that at the time Dan Fishman was there, he couldn't view it anytime he wanted to. He had access to the Google settings. All he had to do is flip a switch, go and read it, and flip a switch back. Like, whatever. The whole thing, not that there was anything like, I don't think anyone would even have care if he saw. Like, we weren't talking about him or anything. It's just the principle of the thing. So this list, I have put forth motion after motion to do something about it. And each time I got shot down. Like, almost in a mocking way by some people, I got shot down. Now, we're at 3 months away from convention, and all of a sudden, the LNC's concerned about this internal list. Why? When you're dealing with people who have behaved the Machiavellian way this LNC has, you have to wonder why. When somebody has been complaining for over a year and has not just complained, brought forth solutions, including at the meeting where I was allegedly removed at, on the agenda was a policy manual that would have solved the problem, and they adjourned purposely without hearing it. Why? Why all of a sudden, and this is all speculation, but I don't think any of you can blame me for this. You would be thinking the same thing if this were the Democrats or the Republicans. Why all of a sudden, when you're getting close to Reno or any kind of big election, why all of a sudden now are you wanting to release things? There is a political motivation here. The political motivation could just be where someone could raise their hand and say, I'm the hero that released the secret document. That could be it. Or it could be that they think they have something on somebody on that list. And some people think, I think they have something on me. I'll tell you why that, and that's what John Phillips is claiming. And John Phillips knows better. And on that, John Phillips, you are a liar. And I will prove that. That's not speculation. Speculation is I think they have something. I think they have something on Joshua. But we're going to get to what John Phillips did, because this is going to show they can't pretend like my removal wasn't personal. I mean, they haven't been able to pretend that for a while. But it's like the mask has completely dropped. Like before, everyone knew it, but the mask has completely dropped right now. So let's talk about this quote-unquote secret list. For the I keep saying 9 months because I keep saying a year, but I even think it was more than a year. But let's just say a year for simplicity's sake. So from January to September, when I was allegedly removed, most of the stuff on there isn't anything juicy. It shouldn't have been on the secret list. But it wasn't anything like you're not going to read anything that's going to, burn your eyeballs. Once New Hampshire started happening, there was some juicy things on there. But not anything particularly more juicy than was on the public list either. There's going to be no New Hampshire surprises in there. There's going to be certain members of the LNC crawling up my ass about doing the independent interviews with Gilletta Jarvis and the New Hampshire board. But you guys already knew about that. But you will see John Phillips singing a different tune on the secret list. Well, it may be like WikiLeaks. I'm going to get to that. But from January to September, there's no smoking guns in there. And that's the period of time I was involved. But you will see John Phillips changing his tune. Because John Phillips publicly was just like, oh my God, it was so terrible. He changed partway through. She did these private interviews and all of this. While on the secret list, he was all in favor of me doing these interviews. John Phillips actually wasn't one of the jerks on the secret list over me interviewing Gilletta Jarvis. You'll see who it was. It was the usual suspects. It was Laura Epke. It was Valerie Sarwark. It was that sort of thing. It wasn't John Phillips. John Phillips said this is what's funny. And this just goes to show how this one thing that will be shown in this secret list is their tune changed about me once New Hampshire happened. It will become very, very obvious that it was a whistleblower retaliation. Because John Phillips was singing my praises when I said I was going to do these interviews on how much he trusts me and how scrupulous I am, okay? Meanwhile, he was then voting to remove me not more than 2 weeks later. What changed in those 2 weeks? Joe Bishop Henchman resigned in shame. That's what changed. So it isn't anything about that. But I do have concerns about the secret list, personal concerns. But before we get to that, now, will the September to December, or what I keep saying December, September to, what's this, March now, be like WikiLeaks? I don't know. I don't know what they've been talking about for 6 months. There could be some juicy stuff in there. There's things I would love to see, because I bet you they were gossiping their asses off about me. I don't know that. They talked about my appeal in secret, which they are not allowed to do. So I am really eager to see that. I'm really eager to see how they justified talking about my appeal, their removal of a duly elected officer, how they felt they had the right when they didn't keep the accusations in secret the way they were supposed to, pursuant to rules, pursuant to Roberts, but their little strategy, they kept that secret. Okay? They got a hell of a lot to worry about. And who knows what else they've been talking about? I don't know. Would I like to see it? Yeah, I want to see it. So, but let's now talk about the concerns I have and how John Phillips was an absolute scumbag today. They might pull a JBH and delete emails. JBH could have already deleted emails that I'm just not even remembering that could have been damning. Because remember, up until I found out he was involved, nobody suspected him. JBH could have deleted a bunch of emails already. You don't know you're going to be getting all of the emails. That's a whole other thing. Will they delete damning emails where they were gossiping about me? Sure, they might. Do I trust them? You shouldn't. They did absolutely nothing about JBH deleting emails. They couldn't even censure him. They censured Joshua Smith, though, didn't they? These aren't good people we are dealing with. Not all of them. As I said, there's some really good people. I call them I'm not dealing with alternates. I call them the good six. They have character. As some other people have pointed out, the problem we have in the party right now is not an ideological problem. It's a character problem. Because I will take a principled moderate any day over a corrupt radical. So let's talk about now what John Phillips did and why I say this is an LNC intimidation tactic. So let me tell you what my concerns are. And I've mentioned these before without mentioning names, and this is going to be important to what John Phillips said. At the time that we were appointing the investigatory committee for the New Hampshire thing, the chair at the time, Whitney Bilyeu, said, put forth your candidate nominations and any concerns you have about any candidates on the internal list. Meaning, by direction of the chair, this was supposed to be confidential. And any time you express concerns about a potential volunteer, those should always be confidential. You do not do discipline of volunteers unless they did something very public or criminal. That's if you just have a personal concern, you don't raise that publicly. You don't embarrass the volunteer that way. I once did that, and I apologized to the person. This was many years ago. And I was like, you're right. That's not the right thing to do. You do that in private. So one of the applicants I had a concern about. This particular person has never, ever, and I want to make this clear because people are going to lie about me. This person has never, ever, 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 ever threatened me. But they've behaved very strangely to me. They've made bizarre accusations about me, like I stole something from their house when I stayed there one night. Like I was planning on assaulting them. Me. Nearly over, I don't even know how old I am, 55-year-old woman who has no strength, was planning on assaulting me, a grown-ass man, and stealing something from them. Like weird accusations. And the accusation was made that this alleged threat that I was going to assault them was discussed at a LNC staff meeting. Those staff meetings are recorded. So when I heard this accusation, I went immediately and said, did you guys discuss something as bizarre as this? And they're like, no, where did that come from? And I told them where it came from. That is such a weird accusation to make. It's so easily disprovable that it just makes me worried that the person I'm dealing with is not entirely stable. Perhaps they are. Perhaps they just like making up shit about me. But other women will understand that when your gut tells you there's something wrong here, like this is weird, like this isn't normal behavior, and when you get like, I hope, and this wasn't said in the joking way, you know, some people, this isn't even a good thing to joke about people, but you know, there's a, like, I will say like, or even Nick Sarwark said, you know, like the Green, he said about the Green Party once, they could go die in a fire. Like he didn't literally mean that every member of the Green Party should go die in a fire, okay? It's an expression. But this person literally twice sent me like nasty emails wishing me to go die in a fire, and meant it, and made it clear they meant it literally. Like out of the blue, like we were friends. And then I get these unhinged emails out of the blue. Like weird behavior. Just to me, a weird obsession with me. Any woman out there will tell you, if all of a sudden there's a guy who just starts acting very strangely, sending things that are like violent imagery, go die in a fire and you're a terrible person, you will not be comfortable around that person. I felt so uncomfortable around this person that I made requests to other LNC members that if this person should show up at an LNC meeting, please, please, please make sure I'm never left alone in a room with them. That's how serious I felt. I could be completely wrong. As I said, this person's never, ever, ever made a threat to me. But my gut told me something is not right here. I could be wrong. I'm just telling you my feelings. And my feelings to me are real. They could be unfounded. But women know, and even men probably for their own wives would say, if your gut is telling you something is wrong, listen to your gut. It's better to be safe than sorry. So I expressed these concerns on the private list because I needed the assistance of other LNC members, because due to both of us being in the party, there were chances that we could end up being in a situation that I wouldn't be comfortable. So I asked the LNC, what are the security protocols if I feel unsafe? Perfectly reasonable. And our policy manual says that things like that are to be kept confidential. Now, during my alleged removal, Laura Epke released one of these concerns of mine. That is so unethical. And I made an ethical complaint to Whitney, who has to this day ignored it. But they censured Joshua in 1 week. But to this day, I have gotten no answer from Whitney Bilyeu about this complaint I made in September about this unauthorized release of a safety concern that Laura Epke knew that I am in fear. Doesn't matter whether she thinks my fear is reasonable. It doesn't matter whether any of you think my fear is reasonable. All that matters is that I have it, and I'm not asking for anyone's rights to be curtailed. This person has never, ever threatened me. This person's rights should never be curtailed. They've done nothing, quote unquote, wrong. But my gut is saying, just stay away. And ever since Laura Epke released that, this person has been obsessing on me even more. There is something not right about you being the subject of conversation, like in weird ways that I find weird. Not sexual, nothing like that. I'm not alleging sexual harassment, nothing like that. Just I'm very uncomfortable by how much I'm on this person's mind. It makes me very uncomfortable. I'm a public figure, though. That's going to happen. I realize that. But I have every right, if I express safety concerns to the LNC in private, that they be kept private. They are so far refusing. So what I believe, and that is just like so wrong. Imagine this being your daughter or your wife. All I am asking of them, well, I'm asking two things of them, but this is my primary concern, that any email, and we're talking about maybe 5 emails, in which I expressed my concerns about this particular individual be kept private. They were made in confidence. I had every reason to expect they would remain that way. And it's not just for my sake. This person has done nothing wrong when it comes to the rules. They also do not deserve to have all this public. It won't. It will harm their reputation. I said it in private for a reason. One, because I have a legitimate fear for me. You don't have to believe it's legitimate. And because they've done nothing wrong. They've done nothing wrong. I mean, they made accusations against me in public that are lies, but I don't believe in defamation. I don't believe in defamation laws. To me, you just counter it with the truth. But I do believe in not unjust. I do believe in when someone's a volunteer and they're not intentionally a public figure, you don't put everything out there in the open. Like I talk about LNC members publicly because they're public figures. But let's say there's someone in chat that I had a problem with that made me feel weird. I wouldn't be like talking about you all the time. You're not a public figure. And there's a difference between a public figure and a more private figure. So what I believe, and this is speculation, is that they are trying to intimidate me a month before Reno. Not they. When I say they, that makes it seem like all of them. Some of them. And this isn't right. This is evil. Now, at one point, some of you may be saying, well, some people on the LNC might not have realized this concern. Yeah, they all know this concern. How do I know this? Because I asked a friendly LNC member to bring it up on the secret list. And you want to hear something interesting? Before they mentioned who had this concern, they were all for protecting this information. Isn't that interesting? Until they found out it was me, they were like, oh yeah, we shouldn't release stuff like that. The minute they found out it was me, all of a sudden stories changed. You're going to tell me this isn't personal? That they're not trying to intimidate me? Now, perhaps the information that I'm getting, because of course I haven't seen the secret list, that the stories changed after they found out it was me. Maybe my source isn't telling me the truth. And I guess we'll find out, won't we? But I believe my source. And if that is true, that is evil. And guess what happened during that meantime? So the original email vote to just release everything that doesn't strictly fall under executive session, guess who originally voted no and then changed their vote to yes after they found out that I had a concern? Chris Lucchini. Do I know that's why he changed his vote to yes? No. Do I believe that's why he changed his vote to yes? Yes. Because he's ass mad that I've pointed out that he had an illegal convention in January changing delegate allocation rules, and in fact, their convention in March has not been properly noticed. And he's upset about that. He does not like being shown he's wrong. So he's getting even with me by putting me potentially in danger. This is evil. Everyone on the LNC knows these concerns. Now, those are the most serious ones. And yes, I have brought this up before. And I've made every effort not to mention this person's name. Has it come up maybe in a video before? It's not that difficult to figure out. Considering Laura Epke released this information, I wasn't the one who released it. She did. Of course, it was Matthew Buffman who gathered it for her, but it was her that released it. That was very reckless. And Whitney Bilyeu still has done nothing about it. And that is wrong. In the Libertarian Party, and about how they're so concerned we don't have more women in the party. You wonder why. You wonder why. So now let me talk about the second concern. The second concern is you've got to realize at one point I thought these people were my friends. 6 of them still are. But at one point, I thought all of them, except for maybe 2, were my friends. When you talk with your friends in private, you talk in a way and reveal more information than you do to the general public. I have made no secret of the fact, because I think there's a lot of shame around this, that throughout my whole life, I have struggled with OCD and autism, as you know, and also major depressive disorder. I'm not ashamed of that. A lot of people do. And a lot of people live in shame. A lot of people have anxiety disorders. And I started speaking out on this when I was involved in the fundamentalist church, in a fundamentalist church. And I was told, you don't take medicine. You don't take antidepressants. That means you don't have enough faith. You just need to pray the depression away. That is so abusive. Fortunately, I ended up with a Christian counselor who said, I know that's what the church tells you, but girlfriend, you need to get on some antidepressants. And I did at the time. I haven't been on antidepressants now in probably 9 months because I've discovered some alternative therapy that I've also been mocked for publicly. But you want to know what? I'm a public figure. We can talk about that some other time. I would love to talk about other options and other treatments for people who are suffering from depression. Because depression is the life killer. Depression is the tiny little, it's like Chinese water torture that can destroy your life. And I have found treatment that has, I'm not going to say cured me, because I don't think you ever get completely cured if you have an imbalance, but has improved my quality of life. Like you guys have seen, I'm talking about a really distressing subject right now, and you don't see me like falling apart. So on that internal list, I was very, very candid because I thought I was amongst friends. I was very, very open about struggles I was having at the time with depression. Sure, I talked about that on my channel as well. You guys know that. But you don't talk on a YouTube channel the same way you talk to people you think are your good friends. There are things you will tell your best friends that you wouldn't say to the world at large. And there are things like that on the internal list because I thought I was talking to my friends in confidence. And they want to release that too, to embarrass me. What message does that send to people who are also struggling with mental health issues, with depression, and haven't yet come to the point that I have where I am not ashamed? There are people struggling with shame. What message does the Libertarian Party send to those people when they are using that to try to shame somebody? It's not right. So those are my only two concerns. Anything that has anything to do with business, anything that might have me I didn't behave any differently, by the way, on the internal list that I did on the public list, with the exception of those two things. So I have zero things to be worried about other than that. Anything to do with business, let it fly. Like the flying monkeys in The Wizard of Oz, let them fly. All I've ever asked for from the LNC is, do not release my safety concerns. And that is perfectly legitimate, and that is per our policy manual. So all of this kvetching about it not following under executive session, first of all, it falls under common human decency, but it falls under our policy manual where it says that concerns of those nature will be kept confidential. But of course, it's rules for me, but not for thee. We've seen this in the past, whatever. And then I've asked that my very private discussions about mental health be kept private. Now, if they release those, it's not like you guys don't know. And in fact, you'll see the way Susan Hogarth gaslit the fuck out of me on the secret list over it. So in a way, in asking for that not to be released, I'm protecting her. Because the way, yes, this is live. Republic of Tryhards was asking on Twitch. The way they dealt with my disclosures was gross. I'm protecting them more than I'm protecting me. Because if you see the way they dealt with somebody like divulging, hey, I'm going through a hard time, weaponizing it the way they did, this is going to make them look bad, not me. Those are my two concerns, and those are not unreasonable concerns. Of course, the first and foremost one is the one with safety concerns. The other one would be a nice gesture not to be revealing people's medical information. But, if they release that, it isn't anything that you guys don't know already. It's just I was much more candid in private with people who I thought were my friends. So now, with all of this background in mind, let's go see what John Phillips said today. And I've got something to add to that. Hey, Tim Crosby. Yep. Flex it. Okay, so let's go to the LNC list. Let me share my screen. Okay, you are looking at my output. Don't need that right now. Okay, now here's Eric. Eric is one of the good guys. Eric said he would start a motion that would protect the concerns that I had. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. I think Eric's motion is way too broad. But Eric is considering people other than me, because this isn't all about me. Other people may have said something since September that really legitimately should be kept private. But I think he went too far in his motion. I think he made it a bit too broad. For instance, he said, in regards to releasing everything that does not strictly qualify for executive session, I move that we add the following categories to be held from release. Okay, member medical information. That had to do with me, and I think that is perfectly valid. Other people also talked about medical issues on the list, other than me. Conflict resolution between members. That I don't know what he's talking about. If I don't care if that's released. I don't even know what he's talking about there. Maybe he's obliquely, I don't know what that's about. That's nothing I asked for. Personal or identifying information about or from members, that is worded so broadly. He meant to have their, the safety. That's meant to cover my safety concerns. I wish he had worded it that way, but he didn't. And then information or concerns about children or other family of members. That has nothing to do with me. I have no idea what that's about. I'm assuming that since September, perhaps somebody talked about their kids or other family members, and I would agree with him. That shouldn't be released to the public if it was said expected to be private. Because you got to remember that for a year, these LNC members have just ignored any attempt. So they've just used this list with impunity. And then he says, furthermore, if a member is discussed or part of a discussion, that member should be contacted with all reasonable attempt to be allowed to be part of the decision process if that information is to be released. I don't agree with that, because that means that the person I expressed safety concerns about would get to see my emails, and that's the whole purpose. Ultimately, it would be the impacted member. I think he meant me, but I have no idea. I think he worded that a little ungracefully. Ultimately, it would be the impacted member that would be allowed to decide. I agree. Okay. So, you had the person on the right side of this, believe it or not, I haven't had a lot of complimentary things except for that they're a real nice guy. The person who's on the right side of this has been the alleged replacement secretary, who I don't accept as the replacement secretary. But John Wilford's been on the right side of this, and he voted no on the original motion. And I sent him information about my specific concerns. But here's John Phillips being an absolute scumbag. I would request a ruling from the chair on whether this would be in order. Well, for one thing, Mr. Phillips, it's in the policy manual, and the concerns I put forth about that member were at the instruction of the chair. We are very strictly limited as to what can be considered executive session by our own rules and bylaws. Oh, you care about that now, Mr. Phillips? Then why have you been posting on the secret list for a year if you all of a sudden care about that now? You only care about it because you know I care. And you wonder why I think this is an intimidation tactic? That is why. If you were so concerned, John Phillips, about the strict limitations, you would have refused to keep things secret this long. In addition, if there was support for this, I would exclude from the limitation anything that the person in question has already made public themselves regarding their medical or mental health personal conflicts. Personal conflicts I don't give a shit about. I have not made public everything about my safety concerns. And you want to know, and he's talking about me here. He's saying since I have already been open about mental health, that I shouldn't be protected. You want to know what? Fuck you, John Phillips. When this has to do with somebody's health, it is theirs to disclose, not yours. Even if I choose on my own channel to talk about it, that doesn't mean you then get to choose to disclose it anywhere you want to. It's my choice. Can you imagine? Let's just put a different kind of situation in here. Let's say that someone was the victim of a sexual assault. And they talked about it on their YouTube channel as a way to get healing. But they also talked about it in private discussions with friends. Would anyone accept as any kind of valid thing that these private discussions amongst friends should be made public? Because after all, they talked about their sexual assault before, so it's fair game. No, it isn't. Personal information like that belongs to the person who made it, and they get to set the ground rules when it gets disclosed and where it gets discussed. Fuck you, John. You would never do this if it was somebody you cared about. If this was a girlfriend of yours, a wife of yours, or a daughter, you never would think this. And personal conflicts, he's talking like this is bickering with somebody. No, release all the bickering. I don't care about that. And to put it very bluntly, this applies only to one person. Glad you're admitting this is personal, John. Glad you're finally admitting this is personal. A person to which my exception would definitely apply, as they have very publicly discussed most, if not all, of the information in question. That is not your right to say where and when things get disclosed. A, the safety concerns I have talked about as vaguely as possible. And again, you don't get to decide to disclose on your own things that I said in confidence to you. You know what, John? You said a lot of things to me in a private message that you probably wouldn't want public. Am I threatening to release it? No, I would never do that because that's a scumbag thing to do, even though you talked about some of the same things publicly. Do I have the right to say, oh, you discussed this publicly, John, so now I can release private messages you sent to me? No, that's unethical. That is wrong. When there's personal issues you're going through, you are the one who gets to disclose how, where, and when it gets disclosed, not anyone else. And indeed have discussed such information regarding others and the children of others. You are a fucking liar. With one exception, and I'll tell you the exception, and this exception is not like he's saying. He acts like I go around gossiping about the kids of other people. Fuck you. There's been one circumstance where I have said something about the child of another person. And if that person, and I don't mind saying the name here because, again, this was on a stream, and it's Erin Adams. Erin Adams is the mother of an adult special needs child. Erin Adams was in stream and thanked me for what I said. If Erin Adams were to say in the future, don't you ever say anything about my, the fact that I have a special needs child ever again, I would honor that wish. But Erin Adams, like I'm an advocate for mental health, Erin Adams is an advocate for people with special needs. She has a heart for it. All I have ever said about Erin and her special needs child is that Erin Adams is a fantastic mother and is a model of motherhood for people with special needs child. That's all I have ever said. And he makes it sound here like I've said nasty things about people's children. All I have done is praise Erin Adams to the moon. You want to know why? Because I have seen families who have special needs children, and you want to know what some families do? They lock them away in institutions. Now, there are some people, and I'm not blaming you, if you had to make a difficult decision and you decided it was the best for your kid, that they needed to have full-time care. I'm not judging you. But we all know there are people who just would rather out of sight, out of mind. There are very famous families that did this, that were embarrassed by not having quote unquote perfect children. Where as a Christian, people are made in the image of God and they are perfect as they are, even if they have certain physical limitations. So for him to imply, fuck you. Never done that. All I have done is said what a wonderful mother Erin Adams is. And if Erin ever Erin, I don't even know what your son's condition is. All I said is he was special needs, which, again, if you never, ever, ever want me to say that again, I will never, ever say that again. But if John's comments apply, no, I didn't. If I said that, I absolutely apologize. I think you are a fantastic example of motherhood. So if I ever said anything even remotely like that, you have my deepest, sincerest apologies. So if I said anything that ever was incorrect, Erin, please accept my deepest apologies. I would never, ever gossip about the children of another person. And send me the link to that stream, because if you like, I will delete it. I do not recall saying that. And Erin, with all due respect, I do want to watch it again, because you have claimed something I said that I didn't say. You have claimed that I said that LNC members were trying to make me commit suicide, and I never said that. In fact, I said I don't think that. But Erin, please send me that link. If you are offended by that link, even if I didn't, whatever, you control that. You control that. I will delete it in a heartbeat. I have nothing but the utmost admiration for you in that respect. And you know that. I've said that multiple times. You don't need to even stamp it. Send me the link and I'll just delete it or private it or whatever you would like. Because I understand you're busy. If you can remember which one it was, you don't even have to justify it. But if what John said is true, not true, true is not the right thing. If John's justification holds true, and this isn't any kind of blaming here, you also have publicly discussed things that were going on and on your own page. That's where I gained the admiration for you, was from things you said on your page about things you were going through. I will never, ever, ever mention it again. And let me know, Erin, because you would know that was never, ever discussed in the private list. So John bringing this up has absolutely nothing to do with the private list. And Erin, I think you have a very good point there. No, you have, as I said, I've already apologized to you if anything I ever said you felt was inappropriate. You absolutely have my unequivocal, without qualification apologies. No ifs, ands, or buts. And all the compliments I've paid to you, I sincerely mean them from the bottom of my heart. And you are an example. But this still, now to get back to the private list, this has nothing to do with the private list. None of this happened on the private list. So, John continues, I will not support an effort to hide their poor behavior behind fake. Oh, I know you don't, Aaron. You two disagree quite frequently. You're separate people. So I will not support an effort to hide their poor behavior behind fake protests of privacy concerns. Fuck you, John. My protests are not fake. They are real. And you're acting like there's something on the private list that is my quote unquote poor behavior I'm trying to hide. There's nothing except for what I have said. Yeah, you might have, Aaron, and I may have expressed my condolences, and I think that's perfectly appropriate. We all do that. And if you have made such a post, that should not be public. That should not be public. But John is absolutely misrepresenting this situation. The complaint that I apologized unequivocally to Aaron about was said on a YouTube stream, not on a private list. And I will delete that stream if she's at her request, because it is her information to disclose. She's absolutely right. But for John to claim that I've done this on the private list and I have a fake concern, I do not have a fake concern. I have very, very real safety concerns. If he wants to release the mental health stuff that I'm very open about, though I was much more candid about it in private than I've been on my YouTube channel, go ahead. I'm not ashamed of having depression. I think it's in very poor taste. But John Phillips, how dare you say my protests are fake? Every single other thing, release it away. Release it. I am not embarrassed or ashamed. Well, I don't even want to say that, because I think we all in our life have said things we're embarrassed or ashamed of. He even admits that, because he says, I've said some pretty hard things on that list as well. I'm sure there are things John has said that he wishes he didn't. I'm sure I did too. I'm sure all of us did. That's not my concern. If I acted like a dick on that list at some time over some issue, release it. We've all acted like dicks. My concerns are very narrow, and how dare he say they're fake? How dare he say they're fake? They are not fake. I have a very real safety concern. And Aaron, I've discussed this with you privately as well. We've discussed our own personal issues that are between you and me. I'm not talking about personal issues, conflicts. I'm talking about just life issues that we understand things like this. I'm trying to be very vague, so I'm not releasing things that aren't supposed to be. Right. It was never set on the list for clarity. Appreciate that, Aaron. And if I apologize for anything that was said that was inappropriate on a stream. Was never, it doesn't matter that it wasn't my intention. Doesn't matter. Please, if I can find the stream, I'll delete it on my own. But if you can remember even like a portion of the name of it, I can search for it and delete it. And I'm going to pay a couple more compliments to Aaron here while Aaron is here, because I like doing compliments along with the criticism. It's no secret right now that Aaron and I aren't best friends, but Aaron answers every single email I ever send to the list. There's a few other people who do, but Aaron always does. And she's not even my regional representative. And Aaron is one of the few that have the guts to come on my stream and talk to me. So, this is what this is about. on the list. So, John, you owe me an apology for saying that my concerns are fake. I do not have fake privacy concerns. That is a scumbag, terrible, awful thing to say. And you owe me an unequivocal apology for that. My safety concerns are very real. And they predate New Hampshire. They predate everything. Why would I ask for safety protocol? Why would I ask other LNC members, including you, John? I made this request of you before we were on the outs to make sure I was never left alone in a room with this particular person. I even asked you to help protect me. And now I am getting upset. That is not fake. How dare you? Anything else? I'll try to find it, Aaron. I will really try to find it because I think I remember the time period. And if I can, you have my word, I'll delete it. You know how things are like when you learn a new word, all of a sudden you hear that word everywhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if now that I want to find it, like all of a sudden it comes up. I know it was a really long live stream. I'm really trying to remember. But you have my word, it will never, ever come up again. Though you still have my undying respect on that issue. So, I wanted to talk about, I think I covered everything I wanted to cover on this. I'm not sure. Nothing else on this discussion down there is, whoops, want to go back to here, is relevant. Like it was all just a lot of objections to the very broad wording that Eric put forth. And I do think the wording was a bit too broad. But to be clear, all I was asking for were the ones where I expressed safety concerns and where people have talked. And Aaron, I don't think your motivations were bad. I said that in another stream if you didn't see it. I don't think your motivations were bad at all. Other people's motivations I have some questions about. Like why Chris Lucchini changed from no to yes once he found out I had a concern. But this is all the mental energy I am giving this issue. So if the LNC decides that they're just gonna release safety information, there's not a damn thing I can do about it. But just party members, just you realize that this is personal for some people. And I have made a promise that I would never, ever sue the party. But I've also made it clear that my family members have not made a promise. And let's just say that my concerns are real. Let's just say that my safety concerns are real. And God forbid, releasing those emails sends this person over the edge and something terrible happens to me. Do you want to know what kind of bad press the Libertarian Party would get over that? And my family members have not promised not to sue the party. I have. They haven't. This is dead serious. This isn't bullshit, baby, oh, you said something mean to me games. I would honor that request from anybody. It's not an unreasonable request. So that is all I'm going to say on that topic. Well, I probably shouldn't say that because every time I say that, I end up having something to say. But it's all I plan on saying on that topic. If and when this dump of emails comes out, we'll probably go through them ourselves on my show because I am dying to see what was said about my appeal. That never should have been on the secret list. And if they are low class enough to release safety information, that says a whole lot more about them than I could ever say. It's just wrong. It's an intimidation tactic. And John Phillips, you just lied your ass off about me by saying this is a fake concern. How dare you? It's not a fake concern. Boy, that would be some kind of 5D chess, wouldn't it? For me to be making up these fake concerns way before New Hampshire happened, way before I had any idea that any of the bullshit that happened in September would happen, because I knew this was going to happen so that in March I could make fake concerns. Are you smoking crack or something? That's a joke. I'm not really accusing you of smoking crack. This is just meanness, ridiculousness. So that is it for that. And want to close again with the unqualified apology to Erin Adams for what she already expressed. I'm not going to say it again because that's talking about it. When you do something that somebody points out to you that is incorrect, apologize without qualification. And John Phillips, I think you owe me a big apology. And I do think you owe me the support of protecting me in the safety concerns. Anything else that you think is bad behavior, you're not one to be talking about bad behavior. If you were consistent, the things you've been saying on social media should have gotten you removed. If you were consistent. I've seen the things you've said on social media. Oh, it's okay to say it because it's about Jackie Perry? Is that it? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think there's any problem with what you said. I do think she's acted nutty as a barking moonbat. But according to the standards you guys set upon me, you should be removed. Because LNC members, allegedly, are not allowed to be talking about party members. Meanwhile, you talk all kinds of shit about Jackie Perry. You've talked all kinds of shit about me. Rules for me, but not for thee, though. All right, that is it. We probably will be discussing this again in April. Maybe not. If anything interesting comes out of that list, out of the data dump, I am dying to see what was said since September to March. Yep, I am. But I did not want someone else to manufacture a story for John Phillips to lie about me and said I had fake privacy concerns. I hope that has been absolutely and utterly cleared up. Over and out, everyone. I will play the closing thing here. Erin, I appreciate you coming by and sharing the concern with me. I did not understand the concern before. I do now. And again, unequivocally apologize, and it will never, ever happen again. Alrighty. You all have an awesome day. And I will... Oh, shit. I'm late for a meeting. I gotta go to a meeting. Okay, I better go now. Bye-bye.
gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians, or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business.